I don't. I don't, Liam. I don't.
I'm glad you don't.
That's why you're here.
It's exactly. It's ridiculous. I don't have time for games, ladies and gentlemen. I honestly do not. I have too much going on. I've taken a day here because it's election day, and we're gonna have a fun little. It's
not
stream.
your election day. It's our election day.
Yeah. Well, it is. Your election day is the one that
matters. No, your day is Felix Haas Appreciation Day. Our day.
Yes.
Right.
Please appreciate Felix, people. Give him some appreciation and shed.
Or DTFO.
Yes.
Liam, I gotta get the heck out of here because I gotta go.
You do. See you later. If this is true, bring me Ethan Van Sciver. If this is what he said and it was not a joke, bring him to me.
What are you talking about?
Now.
Who?
EBS and Malin streamed with him for hours. It's clear to me that Nasser will return with open arms.
Oh, you want to get Nasser in here or EVS?
No, Ethan. Bring me Ethan and John. Bring them to me now. I'll be live all day.
What are you talking about? Who are you? Orange Emperor?
That's right. I'm the Orange Tyrant. Bring them to me. I'm online. I'll be online all day. They can tell it to my face. They can say it to my face. They can tell me I'm wrong to my face.
Well,
if this is what's going on. If this is what's going on, share the stream out. I'm waiting. I'll wait because I will not abide this. Got people saying
if EVS shows up, I'll leave. You know what?
Yeah.
If y'all can get EVS in here, I'll leave.
Everyone does because we'll deal with this. I will not tolerate this.
And I know y'all want me to leave.
You're not in a position to say who is not comic state? Sure I am. Sure I am.
Can't help but laugh at that every single time. Anyways, welcome everybody to Afterlife with Nasser, episode 25. I'm here with Mark, who might be a little bit of a failure because his second chance campaign for the second issue of Common America only raised $50,000. But anyways, Mark, it's nice. It's nice to have you here on the stream.
I'm going to be eating beans straight from a tin can for the next year to recoup this loss on Common America Volume 2, which Kickstarter and Indiegogo combined made over $100,000. I can't afford to feed myself. I'm going to need to. Please visit my Patreon and my GoFundMe so I can buy a Happy Meal and live in a way.
Right. If you guys send me any super chats, I will donate it all to Mark because he really needs it. But anyways, I'm gonna put the link for my comic book Asylum in the chat here, guys. We're $125 away from $3,000, so we're getting really close there. So that's a link right there. And I want to say hi to a few people in the chat. Of course, I got to highlight my shilling links there. We've got Vic Leprechauni in the chat. We've also got Vic King in the chat, who's drawing the comic Asylum. We've got Cameron Scott in the chat, one of our regulars. Nice to see you here, man. We've also got Jason in the chat, Jason Jiminy Cricket, but also Illustration by Design. I get a little annoyed that he has two accounts because he's always like, sub to my Illustration by Design account, but he's always on the Jiminy Cricket account. We've also got Eric N. Boyd in the chat. Nice to see you here, dude. Let's see. Cameron Scott says the legendary Mark Pellegrini. But nice to see you here, Gigantic Android, Ichthus, Jake D. We've been planning this stream for a while, and it just kept getting pushed back because I'm sort of awful at scheduling times. But we wanted to have a stream about some full moon movies I watched because I took advantage of their buy one, get one and got a bunch of movies. But I titled this horror movie discussion because I know we always sort of deviate.
And talk about, we're going to talk about leprechauns because I heard you mention leprechaun there. So, okay.
Right.
No, it's good that you pushed this till December because Trancers 1 is a Christmas movie. So there you go.
You're right.
It's filmed entirely in California, so it doesn't look like a Christmas movie at all, but it is a Christmas movie.
Right. There's no snow. There's just Santas everywhere.
It's the only Christmas movie I know of that has a tanning bed sequence. Or it's not even a tanning bed. It's like a weird tanning room that they go to. It's a tanning closet.
It's like a tanning room that somehow burns his jacket. Like his jacket's in flames, but then he can touch the door.
Right.
Oh my goodness! All I knew about transfers going in was you were like, all I could remember was a previous stream where you tried to explain it to me, and you're like, and he stays back with Prime Helen Hunt, so who could blame him?
Right.
And as soon as we get to that scene, like 5 or 10 minutes in, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That's all I know about this movie.
It's got prime era Helen Hunt. That's all you really need. And geez, the first 3 Transfers movies and that short film, Transfers 1.5, all have Helen Hunt in them. She stuck with that series even when she was getting famous. So yeah, good for her.
Yeah, well, I didn't get the third one. I don't know if I want to continue after the second one.
So here's the thing with Transfers. So Transfers 1 through 3 are watchable. They're actually pretty good, and I kind of like the third one. I haven't watched that one in a long time, so it's not really fresh in my memory. But it has one of the better villains, one of the better Transfers who comes back in time. But it's like you watched the Puppet Master series not too long ago. You know how after Puppet Master 5, there's no budget left, and the quality of the films just plummets. Well, that's what it's like with Transfers after Transfers 3. That's when Full Moon ran out of money. And so Transfers 4 and 5 are one of those filmed in Romania back to back. He's gone back in time to the sword and sorcery era, and it's just Tim Thomerson in a fucking field.
Right. They had a bunch of sword props left over from something. They were just like, we got these props. Let's just use this.
I swear, I think it was filmed at the same time as they were doing Subspecies 3 and 4, because that was also filmed in Romania. So they're just filming 12 movies all at the same time, and probably with one budget shared between them. It's so bad.
Yeah. And as far as Puppet Master, 8 was the last one I watched, and I just can't bring myself to watch 9. I look at all the movies on my shelf, and I'm just like, I'm never gonna watch the last 20 Puppet Masters. Although I did get the Blade movie.
8 was the Legacy, right? That was the clip movie, right?
I don't know. The Blade one just came out recently, I got that Blu-ray, but I haven't watched it. I want to get Littlest Strike though.
Yeah, is that the reboot?
Yeah, Littlest Strike is the reboot.
Yeah, that's the one that Full Custom Hot Dog was telling me was pretty good. So I kind of do want to check that one out. But the movies they've been doing in the main continuity, the Axis of Evil trilogy or whatever, I watched the first 2 of those, and they're just so awful. They're retro Puppet Master tier. Just unwatchable.
Yeah, I know you're big on tiny puppet cinema, so that's why when you were like, I checked out during whatever those, not Littlest Strike, what was the other one called, the recent ones they did, whatever those the name of the story arc they did in Puppet Master, I think you just said it.
Oh, it was the Axis of Evil one.
Axis of Evil. Yeah, when you were like, I checked out during Axis of Evil, I was like, yeah, if Mark's such a big fan of tiny puppet monsters, and he checked out during these.
People think I have no taste, and I mean they aren't wrong, but even I have my limits, and I had to tap out at that. I mean, I've tried watching some of the quote unquote more recent turn of the millennium Full Moon movies, and they're just, I swear he's making those things as some sort of tax write-off, because they're Doll Graveyard, that's awful, and Evil Bong 3 and Ginger Deadman 4, and it's just Ginger Deadman versus Evil Bong.
They sent me a free one. It's called Parasite Dolls.
They're all about dolls and puppets and killer toys. They rebooted Demonic Toys 5 or 6 years ago, and I still haven't gotten around to seeing that. But that's I don't know. I guess that's what Charles Band has just decided he's going to double down on, is killer toys, because that's what he's known for. So that's just all he's making now, are these killer toy movies, and they all fucking suck.
Christian Hanna Horror, who I sent the link to, but unfortunately his work, says that new Blade movie Full Moon put out was just abysmal. Can't believe I bought it. Don't tell me that, man. No,
Christian Hanna. Christian Hanna, I subscribe to his channel. He's got a great channel. So anybody who wants Blu-ray, especially his Blu-ray recommendations, he'll do a top 5 Blu-rays he wants you to get, and they're always really good recommendations.
Oh man, he gave me a really great recommend with the Resurrected. I think I mentioned it to you that it's starring Chris Sarandon. It's an adaptation of the case of Charles Dexter Ward.
Ooh, yeah, I gotta check. So Chris Sarandon is pretty much good in everything, and he's been in even more horror movies than I realized. There's one called The Sentinel. I haven't watched that in a long time. That was one
I've
he
heard
did in
of
the 70s, and that one's pretty good.
Yeah, I love him in everything I've seen him in, but I think I've only seen him in like 3 or 4 movies. I mean, Fright Night and The
Child's Play.
Resurrected, and what was that?
Child's Play.
Oh yeah, Child's Play, and he's in
Nightmare
Dog
Before
Day
Christmas.
Afternoon.
Oh yeah, Dog Day Afternoon. He was in that. Yeah, and he was the voice of Jack Skellington in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I always forget about that.
He's a lot more versatile than I think people kind of realize. Like he was on the Nickelodeon Ninja Turtles cartoon, the CG one from like 4 years ago. He voiced Dracula in that one, and he was doing like a Bela Lugosi impression and everything.
Huh, I haven't heard that.
The guy was married to Susan Sarandon, and that's where she got her last name from. So he's lived a better life than most of us will ever live.
Yeah.
Susan Sarandon, damn. Like that can compete with Helen Hunt.
But as far as the new Blade movie being awful, I'll watch it soon, Christian, and let you know what I think.
You're spoiled for choice when it comes to terrible Puppet Master movies. I mean, you haven't even seen Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys, the straight to Sci-Fi Channel starring Corey Feldman sequel that was so bad.
I just can't stop laughing.
That one was so bad. Charles Band washed his hands of it. You know, he's the guy who said that retro Puppet Master was good enough to be a canon entry, but Demonic Toys versus Puppet Master wasn't. Like that was the bridge too far. It's like, no, I have a standard, and Demonic Toys versus Puppet Master is below my standard.
Oh right, I keep forgetting how many movies I've actually seen Kristen Randon in, because I forgot Bordello of Blood, like Cameron Scott said.
That's right. God, I actually just watched that one like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, he's the priest in that one, and he does another accent in that one. He does that like Reverend Lovejoy from The Simpsons kind of voice when he plays the priest. In fact, he's basically playing like a parody of Reverend Lovejoy in that movie. It's really funny.
Dude, I just couldn't stop laughing with all of his parts in Bordello of Blood. Like it's like the greatest role in that movie.
Man, so Bordello of Blood, do you have the Scream Factory Blu-ray?
Yeah.
So watch the documentary. The documentary is hilarious because it's just 45 minutes of every actor in that movie trashing Dennis Miller and talking about what an asshole he was and how awful he was to work with and how everybody hated his guts and how he ruined the whole movie. It's just 45 straight minutes of people venting about how much they fucking hate Dennis Miller.
That must be the original Dan Slott thing in the recent Dan Slott documentary on Disney Plus. When they were just ranting about him.
I know. I heard about that. I mean, I was surprised at so I watched the Scream Factory Tales from the Crypt Demon Knights and then the Bordello of Blood special editions back to back, and it's like night and day. The Demon Knight documentary has the whole cast except Jada Pinkett because she was too good to be in it, just talking about how much they loved making that movie and how it was a great experience, and they're just gushing about just what a wonderful time they had making Demon Knight. And then you go to Bordello of Blood, and that documentary is just like a 20-minute tirade from Corey Feldman that's just like, fuck Dennis Miller. I hate that guy.
What did Dennis Miller do? What was
like a lot of things. So they had the script for Bordello of Blood, which there was even a story behind that. So basically, Bob Gale was going to leave Universal, and Universal wanted Bob Gale to stay because he was the genius behind Back to the Future and all these other movies. And so they asked him what he wanted to stay, and he said $500,000. But they couldn't just give him $500,000. So he, like, quote unquote, sold them a script for $500,000. And it was a script he wrote in college, which was Bordello of Blood. So he basically gave them some garbage in exchange for $500,000 to stay with the company. And so they had to turn Bordello of Blood into a Tales from the Crypt movie. And they had to shoot it really fast. Like the turnaround on it was like super quick. And for some reason, one of the producers was a huge fan of Dennis Miller and insisted on Dennis Miller being in the movie, despite the fact that Dennis Miller, hey, look up Dennis Miller's filmography. Guess what you're not going to find? Anything other than Bordello of Blood, because he's never starred in another movie in his entire career. He's not a leading man. But this producer wanted Dennis Miller to star in the movie super bad, and that was like a deal breaker. So they went to Dennis Miller, and he's like, I don't really want to be in a movie, but I'll do it for $1 million. And like, okay. And so they took the $1 million out of their production budget because they give like a leading man, you know, like $100,000 or something, but he wanted $1 million. So they had to cut corners elsewhere. So they had to take it out of their production budget. And that's why Bordello of Blood doesn't look as good as Demon Knight. It actually looks really cheap. And they gave it to Dennis Miller. And then when he showed up on set, he had all these caveats. As they were filming in Canada, and so he was having to fly from LA to Vancouver to film the movie. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to work on the same schedule as everybody else. Why don't you just film my scenes separately and then just composite me or edit me in with the rest of the cast? And they're like, what? Like, that's insane. We can't do that. Like, yeah, well, I'll walk. And so if you watch Bordello of Blood, Dennis Miller is almost never in frame with any other actor. I think the only scene where he's so if you see Dennis Miller and he's in the frame with another actor, he has his back to the camera because it's a body double. It's not actually Dennis Miller because he wasn't there. And I think the only time he was like with the other actors was like that scene where I can't remember her name. The lead vampire, the redheaded vampire, is like trying to seduce him. And you can tell that scene was shot in like a soundstage because it's like an empty room and like a big void. And she's like crawling up on him. And he was just like such an asshole. Corey Feldman's story was that, okay, man. So like I wanted to, I want to get to know Dennis, right? And we're going to be in the movie together, I was going to be the evil vampire. So I called him up and I was like, hey, Dennis, do you want to like get together for like lunch or something and go over our parts and the kind of and like what our chemistry is going to be? And and Dennis Miller's like, I'm not going to do that. I'll see you on set. And then of course he never showed up on set at the same time as all the other actors. Basically it was just a colossal piece of shit. Oh, and man, I can't remember. It's a great documentary because it is just every single person railing on Dennis Miller and just unloading all their baggage and venting about how much they hated that guy.
Oh man, I want to watch these documentaries now. I didn't watch them back then. I didn't watch any of the special features on those, but I think I'm going to now because that sounds like it's going to be pure gold.
Well, it's not just that too. Is that the actress who played like the heroine, the blonde girl. I can't recall her name, but she was coming off like a TV drama, and so her like market value was rather high, and she was coming off Baywatch. I think she was coming off Baywatch, and she had this thing where she's like, I want to be taken seriously as an actress now that I'm done with Baywatch. So she signs up for Bordello of Blood. It's like what were you thinking, lady? And so they had to rewrite the part for her because originally her character was supposed to be an ex-stripper who like found Jesus, and that's why she has that job with Chris Sarandon's preacher character, and she's fighting the vampires or whatever. But they had to nix the whole like ex-stripper angle because like I don't want to be sexualized. Like, bitch, this movie's called Bordello of Blood. Right. Like, I hired you because you're from Baywatch. And they said that like she was actually in the interview on that documentary. And the people and like Corey Feldman, he gives the same thing. He's like, yeah. So when Dennis Miller shot me down, he wouldn't go out to lunch with me. He wouldn't talk about the movie with me. I called her up. Like we're supposed to be brother and sister characters. So I wanted to get in touch with her and like maybe we could do lunch and talk about our dynamic and our approach to the characters. And she told me the same thing. She told me she'd see me on set. Like, why was everybody at this movie an asshole? like Corey Feldman is just like, I just wanted to make friends.
Also, Larry says your Corey Feldman impression was spot on.
Is what?
He said it was spot on.
Spot on. I'm trying to do like Corey Feldman's got this weird voice where it sounds like he got punched in the throat when he was 16 or something, and now because he has like, well, if you watch like Gremlins and Friday the 13th Part 4, he has like a normal little kid voice. Yes, and then you get to like Lost Boys, just suddenly, or Ninja Turtles, the movie where he voices Donatello, just like suddenly he's like, hey everybody, I'm like that guy from South Park who has to put the little speaker up to his throat, like they're coming right for us. What happened? Like something. Well, At least he's still alive. Same can't be said for Corey Haim. But.
Oh man, yeah, but that's exactly how he sounds. Though it is spot on, like Larry said. Also, we got 16 people in here, guys. Hit the thumbs up or even the thumbs down, whichever one you prefer. Share out the link to this stream and check out my book Asile. The link's right there in the chat. But getting back to Full Moon.
Oh yeah, right. So we're talking about different.
Right. See, I knew we were gonna get on some rabbit trails, but we'll come back to transfers because I want to talk about Terror Vision. Though I absolutely loved that movie so much. I loved it so much. I'm glad we pushed the stream back because I ended up getting that and watching it like just a couple days ago, I think. So it wouldn't have been in the previous discussion, but I had wanted it back when it went out of print. So I was like, I gotta pay, like $40 or $50 for it.
Yeah.
But then Andrew Hayes and that Devon Graham, he might be watching. I don't know. He told me, he's like, oh, look, they got it back in stock somehow. I don't know if they just found a box of them, but it was only $16.
Yeah.
But it was only $16. I was like, oh yeah, I gotta order this right now. So I ordered it, and I was just so glad to get it. Like I had seen 30 seconds of it one time on Cinemassacre, and it just looked so cool. I was like, I need this.
It's great. It's so it's from Empire Pictures, which was Full Moon in the 80s before. So Empire Pictures was Charles Band's production studio in the 80s, and then it went bankrupt, and then he reorganized it as Full Moon in the early 90s. But Empire Pictures is where he actually had a lot of money, and he made his best movies. That was where he made Dolls. That was where he made Troll. That was where he made Trancers 1 and Trancers 1.5. So if Trancers 1 looks a lot better than Trancers 2, the reason is because it has a fucking budget. Tourist Trap was another Empire Pictures one. And yeah, Terror Vision was an Empire Pictures one. And that movie, it's kind of in its own genre with Fright Night and Gremlins 2, where it's got these horror host characters who interact with the plot of the movie, which is just this weird little subgenre of horror films that I'm really enamored with. It kind of went away in the 80s when horror hosts kind of went extinct. But there's just something about that I absolutely love. The Peter Vincent from Fright Nights.
Right.
And I think her name was Medusa. And
yeah, it was Medusa.
Yeah. And then Grandpa Munster from Gremlins 2. Yeah.
Yeah, but speaking of budgets, I mean, I knew Trancers 2 had no budget when I saw the poster art, and it's just Jack Death, which is the coolest name ever, and I love how they only say Jack Death. It's rarely ever Jack. It's Jack Death.
Yeah, no, they always call him by his first and last name. Yeah.
But it's just him, with his arms around a couple chicks, and I was like, I know this one's going to be sort of awful because the first one's got such cool art. And then, I'm like, what is the second one? What is it trying to tell me?
That is straight up VHS box. I didn't even bother to. Why paint a poster if it's just going to be on a VHS box? Just take a photo of them standing together. So if you ever get around to watching it, I kind of can't recommend it because it's not that good. I don't really like it. But Doll Man is another Full Moon one that has Tim Thomerson playing the title character Doll Man, and it is the exact same character as Jack Death. He's a cop from another planet. Instead of another time, he's from another planet who has to travel. Instead of back in time, he has to travel across the galaxy to modern day Earth in pursuit of a villain who, instead of being a trancer, is this weird floating head on a hovercraft who teams up with Jackie Earle Haley to do some bullshit. But it's the exact same movie as Trancers, except Jack Death is 6 inches tall.
Yeah, I think Christian Hanna was talking about this the other day on the Firefly Family podcast. I believe he mentioned it. I mean, it sounds cool, but outside of him being, the size of a hand, it's well, I think I've already seen this movie.
Doll Man, it's not really my kind of movie. Even Trancers, I'm not in love with the Trancers movies. They're a bit more sci-fi than horror. When I remember reading the description that the Trancers are these scary zombie monsters, and then in the movie they're not really. They're just kind of guys with bloodshot contacts in.
They're just a bunch of angry people.
Yeah, they're just a bunch of angry people. They're actually kind of disappointing. The monster in Transformers 3, it's been a long time since I've seen that one. I remember him having a bit more special effects applied to him and looking a bit cooler.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe I'll try out Transformers 3, but I mean, I loved the first one and I loved the short film, but the second one, it was just so boring, dude. What were they thinking? Like, it went from being like this really cool, like cop, like sci-fi thing, like to like, what is it? Some family drama? I don't know, dude.
Yeah, it's the brother of Whistler from the first one, you know, comes back in time for revenge, but he also wants to grow a Transformers farm. But they also just like they break their own rules of how their time travel and everything works. Like they send back like a time pod. So now instead of like having to actually go down the line of your family lineage and possess the body of your ancestor, you can just get into a box and go back in time. Like, oh, okay, that kind of defeats the whole point and premise of the first movie. But then the first movie defeated its own premise with him, he's like, you know what? I'm going to stay back here in the past and just keep porking Helen Hunt. Like, okay, but wouldn't you cease to exist? Because I don't think you're having any kids with her. So nothing about those movies makes any sense.
Which speaking of how they time travel in them, I think that might be like the most unique time travel I've ever seen, where it's like you have to go back down the bloodline instead. You know, you got to be one of your ancestors. But then I don't know. They do just defeat the point the whole time where he's like, I think I can stay here. I love the gag though they do with that though. Whenever they bring him back, and then he leaves. Or he comes back just after they're done in bed.
Just after his ancestor had sex with Helen Hunt. Like he always just misses out on it. But like it's the funniest thing about that. It means that his ancestor woke up from like his coma, his time coma, in bed with Helen Hunt, and is like, yeah, okay. His ass, because her reaction is that she had no perception that there was a difference between like the ancestor and Jack Death. So the guy's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm in bed with a woman. I guess I'll
right. Like you would expect, like he comes back and she's in the middle of explaining everything. And he's like, how much, you'd think he'd be like, how much time has passed? But then he just comes back and they're done.
Transformers 1, I mean, I'm going to give it credit. Yeah, it does have a lot of its own kind of like premise breaking problems. Like they also have that thing where they send the time stopping watch back in time. So they can send like solid objects back in time and technology back in time, but they can't send a person. But it has at least a tighter script. Like his whole mission is that he has to protect that washed out baseball pitcher guy. And that, of course, like plays into the end of the movie. So he manages to like get sober enough to throw. What does he throw at the end of the movie that saves the day? I can't.
Oh, what? I don't know. Wasn't it a bottle or something? Or
yeah, he throws like a Molotov cocktail, doesn't he? Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years since I watched Transformers 1, but yeah, like even that plays a part in the resolution of the film. So it's a more tightly scripted movie. Transformers 2, it opens up and the washed up pitcher is now like a millionaire who's had a prosperous Major League Baseball career. Like, wasn't he like 65? Like, how did he just go from like being 65 bum on the streets to being like, an all-star pitcher for the MLB?
No, he was the all-star pitcher like decades ago, and then he lost all, became a drunk. So did he go back to being to the MLB after he sobered up? No, I think he just got rich making, I don't know, investments or something. I don't know where he got the money. Somehow he becomes rich. Which is funny though when Jack has to go back and they're like, and here's the only thing we have of this guy, and it's his baseball card, and he's like, baseball? What is baseball? Like every single sci-fi movie, any movie with time travel, it's always like, what is this strange thing from the past?
Right? Yeah.
Come on, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure even if they stopped playing baseball, like after this season, whatever, if they stopped playing baseball, I'm sure like 100 years from now or 300 years from now, people would understand.
I understand if it was like if it was like highlight or curling or something like really obscure. But it's like that part in Jason X when they unfreeze Jason in the future and like, what's that thing he's wearing on his face? It's a hockey mask. What's hockey? Like, oh, hockey was a blood sport that was outlawed in 3,500 or something.
Right. It's not like it's the little toy where it's got the two like robots or something in like the boxing ring, and you just like hit the little
Rock'em Sock'em
button.
robots.
Yeah, there we go. The Rock'em Sock'em robots. Like, it's not like it's that. It's like, what's a baseball? It's like I don't watch The Simpsons, but I at least know the this one meme where the girl's like, "I'm a Star Wars." Like, it's like that. It's like
Right.
it's like, what's a Star Wars?
No, so the Trancers movies, at least the first two. And did you watch the Trancers 1.5, that short film?
I love the short film. It was really awesome.
The short film is good because it's short and it doesn't have time to be boring. And Trancers 1 and 2, they have a lot of like padding in them, and so Trancers 1 not so much, but Trancers 2 kind of has a a lot of padding in it, and it's kind of boring.
Especially the intro. Like, take a shot every time a Charles Band movie's got like the opening credits that take like 40 minutes, like just to pad the runtime. Like I swear we don't need like the sound guy's name on the screen for a minute and a half before the next person's name.
I mean, I like even his Empire Pictures movies, like Dolls opens up with just these really long shots of dolls, and it's atmospheric. It was fine when Dolls did it.
Oh, I love it in Dolls.
The same thing, and yeah, I think he does that because his brother Robert Band scores all those movies, and so he just wants that intro to be like a spotlight piece for his brother's music. But like, oh my god, this is really boring.
Yeah, but the second one was hilarious. How the other officer, I think it's McNulty, was like, "Jack, this lady's obviously evil," and then the lady's just like throwing herself at Jack, and they don't know what to think, and it turns out she's not evil. Dude, that's such a funny gag. The short film in between it was just so good, just because it's so just because it's short. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't got time to be boring. It's just like one interesting thing after another.
Yeah.
But then
it doesn't make any sense if you watch it in between Trancers 1 and 2, because the premise of the short film is that, oh, me and Helen Hunt, we're going to start our own detective agency. And then when you watch Trancers 2, it's like, nah, never mind. Me and Helen Hunt are going to live in the mansion with the baseball guy. Like, oh, okay, change your mind on that.
Right. Right. I mean, that's how I watched it, though. I did watch it in between them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's still really good, even watching in between them. But the second one, I just really don't like it. Like, it's just so weird. It's got this whole like, no, I'm his wife. No, I'm his wife. Like,
yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's well, if you didn't like Trancers 2, I don't recommend Trancers 3. It's I think a little bit better than Trancers 2, but it's no Trancers 1.
Like, I don't know. I liked it a little bit, but like, it was just like we didn't need the cringy sequence where the guy, the Ashby guy, the baseball player, where he's like, I need to play one more game. Like,
we already did that in the first movie.
He finds a bunch of hobos and he's like, who wants to play? And like, you're telling me this dude, he's rich now. He doesn't have any of his old baseball friends. Like,
he can't pay people to play baseball with him.
Right. He can't just find his own old teammates or something, but he finds these hobos and he's like, who wants to play? And they're like, what? What's a play? And he's like, I have beer or alcohol or whatever. And they're like, oh, yay, we get to drink.
Well, I mean, at least you watched some good ones. Didn't you watch Tourist Trap?
Yeah, I watched Tourist Trap. That one was so good because it's like everything and the kitchen sink. It's like it's got a bit of like Texas Chainsaw and Psycho in it, and also like
House of Wax.
Yeah, like House of Wax. It's like a mix of like 4-5 different movies.
They just threw everything at the wall to see what would stick, and it just turned out everything stuck. Because it's the bad guy Slauson. That was his name. Like he's got a dual personality thing, like you said, like Psycho, where he dresses up as his brother, but his brother wears that weird mask, so he's kind of like Leatherface, and he's got this house full of mannequins, so it feels like House of Wax, but his brother's going around stalking all these kids and killing them one by one, so it's kind of like a slasher movie, but it's also like an evil puppet movie because there are these mannequins who kind of like he can bring to life to do various things. It's such a Such a bizarre movie.
Yeah, it was like the weirdest part for me was like I didn't understand like until later on when they explained it, like what the evil presence was supposed to be. Because like at first, you know, in the opening scene when the dude dies, I was like, okay, so is there just like, is the place haunted? And then later, like things are like moving and stuff, and I'm like, well, like, okay, do the dolls have like minds of their own? Because you see the guys moving, and then it's like somebody became a doll and they still move. So I was like, so did they become dolls and they become evil? And then like,
it's really weird. So he can move objects with his mind,
yeah,
but he can also bring the mannequins to life, like turn them into people. There's that part where the girl's like laying in bed and she like opens her eyes and and this one is really creepy the way it was shot. She opens her eyes and she sees like a nice lady with glasses like sitting beside her and watching her, and the nice lady like, you know, runs her fingers through her hair and kind of like pets her head to calm her down. And then she turns the lights on and the nice lady turns into a mannequin. Like it was a mannequin the whole time. Like that was really creepy. But then like at the end of the movie, like all of her friends get turned into mannequins and she's like driving away with them, like laughing hysterically, and all of her friends are mannequins and loaded up in the car.
Right, that was really creepy, but I really liked how it ended.
It's a crazy movie, but I don't know, it's like Transfers 1.5. There's just never a dull moment. It's just really fun to watch movie.
Right, it's just like it's got like all the tropes I really like especially like Road Trip gone wrong. Like if there's ever a movie like, you know, like Texas Chainsaw or anything, or even, I guess Psycho even counts too, you know, Road Trip gone wrong. Like if it's ever Road Trip gone wrong,
like 75% of all horror movies are
that's true.
Oh no, we got a flat tire. Let's go into this old abandoned house and sleep there for the night. Like Evil Dead, it's the same thing. Like, oh, right. Like if anybody shows up, we'll just say that a car broke down.
but it's like it's just never a dull moment, and the guy is so just like it's obvious like it's him like the whole time, and he's like, you wait out here, out in the dark, out in the open, and I'm like no, like lady, why are you believing this? Run!
You're right. It has that. It also has the hint of Scooby-Doo to it because it's like, ooh, who's the masked killer? Could it be the only other guy in the movie? Yeah, maybe.
Right. I've slowly learned that like if there's ever a character that's supposed to be evil but they never show them, you only hear them, like it's the same person. Like I should have known. Like I don't want to spoil any other movies for anybody, but I watched a movie like that a few days ago with my brother. We're watching a movie and like one of the characters you only hear off screen, and it's like very early on when you hear them, and my brother's like, they're the same person. I'm like, no, they're not. He's like, yes, they are. And I'm like, well, how do you know? He's like, because we don't see them. And then later on in the movie, like it was exactly that, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, I guess you were right. Like I was coming up with like theory after theory. I was like, no, but that doesn't make sense because of this. And he's like, no, they're gonna be the same person.
You know what Tourist Trap reminds me of? And it reminds me of like a 1970s paperback horror novel. It has that same sort of like,
oh, completely.
The guy wrote like one draft of the manuscript and then just sent it to the publisher and like got $100 for it and then cashed his check and left. So it's just this weird like string of nonsense that's like so many of those 1970s horror paperbacks.
Right, and not only that, but it's like they combined every single crazy thing they could think of into the one book, and not only that, but they told it from like the wildest point of view, where you could see like every single character's thoughts, and like every single character has a storyline. like I used to do that so much when I started, and then I was like, wait, this is awful. And so I would just follow like, you know, one character's point of view max, like per scene and preferably per book. But then it's like when you get to those oldest, and I love reading them, like you get to those old paperbacks and it's got like every character gets a subplot and they get their own couple of chapters.
Oh my god, you're trying to make me care about every character, but now I just hate all of them.
Right. And then it's like, it's not only that, it's like it's so like the plots are so wild. Like, they're just really so wild. Like when I was reading I don't know if you've read it yet, Paperbacks from Hell, that Grady Hendrix book where
it's on my queue. I've been meaning to pick it up because that's the one that's basically just full of like recommendations of those paperbacks. Yeah.
And a few of them have been I think 13 of them have been reprinted. I've read 5 or 6 of them, and I think I've read 1 or 2 that have been mentioned in there but not reprinted. Well, I actually probably read like at least 3 of them probably that have been mentioned in there, but not reprinted. But it's a really great book because it talks about the trends in publishing, and you could see it, like he lays it all out, like the covers and stuff, and he's like, Jaws did good, and then there's all of these, and then you just see like just like these like deformed like fish and stuff on every cover.
Monsters with like big mouths, like at the bottom of the cover, like coming up to bite somebody who's really small. Like they all look that Peter Benchley novel cover, yeah.
Right, which I hear Orca's a really good one. I know it's a book and a movie. I still haven't seen or read either one, but I want to get them.
The movie, all right. I don't want to spoil the movie for you. Don't read any summaries online. Just watch the movie, and I think you'll know why I don't want to spoil it for you once you watch the movie.
Okay, but the thing about the movie is it's like $25 or $26 on Amazon. I was like, you guys can't come down another $10 for me. Like it's one movie. Yeah,
it's a Scream Factory Blu-ray. I think that the problem with Scream Factory Blu-rays is every time I wait for them to go down in price, they end up going out of print instead. And then like suddenly they're $100. I'm like, well, fuck. I should have just paid the $25.
Right, and like the worst part is when you find one that's been out of print for a while. And there's this dude on eBay, and this is gonna sound awful, but he makes bootleg Blu-rays, and he's just not been around for like a while. Like I bought a Return to Sleepaway Camp from him back in like January, and like I've not seen anything from him since, and I messaged him twice like, hey, can you happen to make a Blu-ray of Slumber Party Massacre 2 and 3? But he's never replied. So I'm like, is this guy like banned or something? It still lets me message him. You mentioned Sleepaway Camp. Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 are the ones that I was waiting on to go down in price, and instead they went out of print. And Sleepaway Camp 2 now goes for like $150. I'm like, you would not believe my luck earlier this year. I think it was back in January actually, when I found both of those for $17 or $18 each, 2 and 3. Yeah,
where'd you find them at?
Vintage stock. I was visiting my sister down in Oklahoma, and there's a chain of stores there called Vintage Stock. And I
walked in, a brick and mortar store.
Yeah, okay. Brick and mortar. It's so strange. Like, I mean, I haven't been in as many of them as like you. I don't mean to make you sound old, but I mean I know like everyone that's just a few years older than me too. They're like, oh, I remember the movie stores, and like all I remember is going to Blockbuster when I was a little kid because my sister worked there. And, when I walked in and I saw just like all these, because it was a really big store and they had more than just Blu-rays too. Like they had records and books, but they had just so many Blu-rays and DVDs. And I was like, oh my goodness, like it feels like I'm 5 again and I'm back at Blockbuster finding a cartoon. But I found them there. It's really cool.
In movie stores, you don't get a good deal. Like I worked at a Suncoast back in like 2004, 2005, and what we charged for movies there was criminal. We charged MSRP for everything. So like, whereas Best Buy and Walmart were charging $15.99 for a DVD, we were charging $39.99.
Oof.
And like, yeah, Suncoast prices. I mean, Suncoast, I think they went out of business, but like Barnes and Noble, if you try to buy a DVD from Barnes and Noble, like it's ridiculous. It's so overpriced. Amazon Amazon, I think it was a Cyber Monday thing, but they had some sort of lightning deal. Full Custom Hot Dog tuned me into it, so I managed to get it. But it was they had a selected list of horror movies, and it was like buy 2 get 1 free, and they had some really good deals on there. So I had to go for it. I picked up like these 3 box sets from Scream Factory. I picked up the Critters collection so that I can finally upgrade from my old DVDs. Yeah, it's actually pretty cheap now. It's like $29.99.
Oh yeah, well 29. I think it was like 25 last I checked. I'm going to check it right now.
Yeah, so it went down in price. It's actually pretty affordable, but I definitely say get that one before it goes out of print. I got the Fly collection. That's got all 5 Fly movies in it.
Oh yeah.
So I had the old box set, but I needed to upgrade to the Scream Factory one, and I got a bunch of movies that I've never seen. I picked up the Rec box set, REC, the Rec collection. So it's got Rec 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I've never seen any of them, but they always come really highly recommended. So
yeah. And Critters is $25 right now. So
yeah,
I really should pull the trigger. The difficult part, like I didn't buy anything with the Amazon sale they were having because me and my brother bought 19 Criterions at the 50% off sale. We just,
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. Like we just kept buying them.
It went nuts. I got a couple of Criterions. I got let's see, I got Jigoku and I got Kudo Neko. So I got two like really old fashioned J horror ones from that sale. And let's see, what else did I pick up? I got the Scream Factory release of Night of the Comet, which is a guilty pleasure. If you've never seen that one, I actually recommend it. It's kind of so bad it's good. I got a steelbook of a movie called Popcorn, which I haven't seen since the old Sci-Fi Channel days, but it's like a slasher movie that's also got like an anthology. So it's about a slasher killing people inside of a movie theater during an all-night horror movie marathon, but like intercut between like that framing story of the slasher going around killing people is the fake horror movies that they're watching on the screen. So you kind of get like an anthology thing going on where there's like two other stories in the movie. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember really liking it. And I picked up a newer one called Relic, which I saw, I think his channel is Super Eye Patch Wolf, did a video on disturbing horror. And all the clips that he showed of Relic looked really good. So I picked that one up.
Yeah, I've heard of Popcorn. I think Christian recommended it. Maybe Andrew did too, actually. But I'm meaning to pick that one up. There's also a Warner Brothers sale going on right now on their website that's like 30% off. So like I didn't pull the trigger yet because like I found like a bunch of movies and it's like most of them are cheaper than Amazon because of the sale, and I'm like, oh, I want to buy all these, and then like the total came to like $100 and some change, and I was like, oh, I can't pull the trigger right now. I spent way too much with the Criterion sale. But,
yeah, I did the so Scream Factory had a sale. It was like a month ago, but I binged and got like 5 or 6 movies from them, and I watched through all of those. Oh yeah, I mentioned it. My old Book of the Dead edition Anchor Bay DVDs for Evil Dead 1 and 2. So back in 2002, I think it was, Anchor Bay put out these really cool editions of Evil Dead 1 and 2 that came in replica Necronomicons. And so those have been my copies of Evil Dead 1 and 2 since 2001. And they're made of like foam rubber. And so a couple of months ago, I went and I was like, I feel like watching Evil Dead. So I went and I pulled the Necronomicon off my DVD shelf, and it started to crumble like a dead leaf in my hand. No. I was like, oh God. And so I like very carefully set it down and set it aside. And like, okay, I can never open these again. All right. So I had to go out and try and find, I was trying to find good editions of Evil Dead 1 and 2. And the best ones I found, they were cheap. There were a couple of Blu-rays, the 4K Ultra HD ones. But like the Evil Dead 1 4K Blu-ray, it has no special features except the audio commentary. Evil Dead 2 has like all the special features that were on the old Anchor Bay DVD, but Evil Dead 1 has nothing. I don't know why they put out an edition that has like no special features on it.
You know what I hate is like when you get a DVD and the special features say like interactive menu, and I'm like, that's it feature. And the menu just says play.
Yeah, like scene selection. Oh yeah, scene selection. That's a great special feature. It comes standard.
Yeah, and then well, with the Vinegar Syndrome sale, I got like 3 movies, and I wanted to get more. My brother was gonna buy some. Well, he looked at some of them. He's like, I don't really know, and he sort of backed out. I was like, you're killing me. But we did spend a lot with the Criterion sale, so I understand why he backed out of the Vinegar Syndrome sale. So I only got like 3 movies from that, and of course, we're probably not even gonna get them till like next month with how Vinegar Syndrome ships out their movies. But I did pick up Fade to Black though. They just released that.
Oh, that's the one that, yeah, I got to pick that one up because I've been wanting to watch that for years, and it was out of print for a really long time.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, it's actually been one of my holy grail movies for a long time. Thanks for reminding me. I got to pick that one up. Fade to Black. I forgot all about that one. What other crap did I get? I got crap. Oh, I got Motel Hell. That was the Scream Factory. They put out a nice steelbook release of Motel Hell, and that movie was like, I could feel my brain being damaged as I was watching it. But I don't know. There's just, I think it's going to become part of my regular rotation. I mean, I hadn't seen it since way back in the day, and I pretty much forgot everything about it. So it's like I was watching it for the first time again. But Motel Hell is about this couple who run a motel called Motel Hello, but the neon O and hello like disappear, so it says Motel Hell. Yeah. And what they do, obviously, is that when people check in, they hit them over the head with a shovel, take them to their garden in the backyard, and bury them up to their neck, and then put burlap sacks. And then they cut their vocal cords, and then they put burlap sacks over their head, and then they feed them through like a tube to fatten them up. And then once they're nice and ripe, they kill them, and then they turn them into sausages.
That sounds so good.
It is an insane movie.
I've been meaning to get that one too. It's just like so many Blu-rays, not enough money. Like it's like oh yeah. And then there's the student loans you got to pay. So don't spend too much.
Well, that's where all the Common America money is going, is to buy these awful movies.
Right, all $17 of it. Because apparently that's how much you make.
Yeah, right. That's pretty much what I took home. Oh yeah, I also got The Town That Dreaded Sundown, which I'd seen before, but is one that I wanted to own. The Town That Dreaded Sundown has this great scene. So at the end of the movie, the police are chasing the Phantom Killer, the guy who has the sack over his head, and they're chasing him towards a railroad. And he manages to get in front of the train before it passes. So the cops are on one side of the train as it's chugging along, and the Phantom Killer's on the other side. And they're trying to shoot between, the wheels of the train to try and shoot him in the legs. And a flatbed cab on the train goes by, and you just see the second unit cameraman just on there filming with his big camera rig. And it's not even subtle. You just see the guy like, "Oh, hey everybody, don't mind me. I'm just filming the B-roll footage."
Oh man, Vic King says Motel Hell is top tier horrible horror. I don't know what you mean by horrible. Like you mean like it's goofy?
It's so bad. It's got this ending that actually I think rivals Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 for like the best chainsaw duel in a horror movie. And it's he's wearing this giant hog's severed head over his own head, and he's attacking them with a chainsaw. And they're trying to hit him back, but he's got this big, fleshy head over his own head that they can't penetrate to hurt him. And it's just so crazy and violent. It's a masterpiece. It should be in the Criterion collection.
You know what? I don't know if we ended up talking about it ever since I watched it. Maybe we did, but did we ever discuss when I watched Equinox?
Oh shit! No, you watched Equinox? Yeah, what'd you think?
Oh man, yeah, I watched it a month ago. I absolutely loved it, dude. I absolutely loved it. I only watched the shorter version because you were like, that one's way better. So
better version, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you feel like it, go back and watch the extended version that they released in theaters, just so you can see the fluff that they added, the padding. It's funny because when they filmed the new scenes for the theatrical version, it was like 5 years later. So everybody just randomly throughout the movie, everyone just suddenly gets 5 years older. And they'll get 5 years younger and then 5 years older again. And they couldn't find matching shirts for the original footage. So the patterns on their shirts will change like randomly throughout the movie. It's not very well paced. They add this like new character who's this demonic forest ranger who's chasing them around the woods and trying to rape the girls. It's a very odd subplot. But yeah, no, Equinox is awesome. It's basically just it's Evil Dead, but with more stop motion monsters.
Yeah. I don't know like what more they could do like with the extra, I don't know, 10 minutes they added. Like I think it was perfectly fine the way it was. But yeah. I love like how it goes from like a dude, will be standing there and there's like a giant monster, and then like in the next frame it's like suddenly it's just like claymation.
So for what was basically an independent film made in the 60s is like a student film pretty much. The fact that they could even do all those stop motion effects and the various effects that they did, and they made them look as good as they did with no budget, as just a bunch of like indie filmmakers who I think were all like in their early 20s just like screwing around, that they made something that watchable is pretty impressive. There's this really awesome shot at the end of the movie. It's when they're the last two survivors are in the graveyard, and there's that bat-winged monster, and it swoops down at them, and it hits the cross, and then just this huge wave of fire sweeps across the graveyard towards them. Like, that shot was really cool, and it was made by just a bunch of kids having fun.
I like when they go into the like castle thing, and they're like, and they're like, there's this crazy old man in here, and then later they look back, and like just like a minute later, and then the castle's gone. They're like, where did it go? I live for that stuff. But it's just, I don't know, I just love it. It's just like, it's so like goofy and cheesy sometimes, but I just really love it, and especially the claymation, and I just think it was great.
And there's so many effect shots with the stop motion. There's the giant tentacle monster that attacks the cabin. There's the weird big ape thing. There's the winged bat monster. It's like the movies, and that's why the shorter version's better, because it doesn't have padding, so it doesn't have time to be boring. Like we keep talking about that. It's like the worst thing you can do to a horror movie is make it boring. So I'm watching all these like old 80s horror movies, and I've noticed that every single one of them is like 90 minutes on the dot. That's like it. That's all you need is 90 minutes to tell your story. You don't need to bloat it like all these movies that are being made now, where they're all like, 2 hours, like 2.5 hours. I'm like, oh my fucking God, man.
Right. That's what I dread, especially with a lot of movies I just picked up with the Criterion sale. Like, I see they're like over 2 hours long. Like, no spoilers, please. But I picked up some David Lynch movies, and I'm looking at the runtimes, and they're all like, 2 hours, 20 minutes. I'm like, like I got to make an event out of it now.
Well, that's God. I was watching so 2 weekends ago, I had like a marathon of J horror movies, like Dark Water, and they're all kind of blurred together. Occult. And the other one was One Missed Call and Pulse. So I watched like 4 J horror movies back to back because they were all on YouTube. And so I could watch them all for free. And they're like, you know what? I've always meant to watch these movies. And they all had that same problem. Like, all 4 of those movies is that they're like half an hour longer than they need to be. And every single one of those J horror movies, their third act, their climax, it goes on for way too long. And then when the movie's over, like the evil long-haired ghost girl is vanquished and the movie's over, it keeps going with this really long epilogue with the characters talking about like, oh, like it was the scariest thing that ever happened to me, and that, but it's 5 years later, and so this is the aftermath of the events, and like, holy shit, just cut to the credits.
Right.
Every single J horror movie does that.
Oh man, I hate when they keep going, when a movie keeps going instead of cutting to the credits. Like when I watched things called Happy Birthday to Me, when it gets to the end, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's the explanation. And then there's like 2 more minutes of like pulling off masks and like weird backstory I didn't understand.
I don't know if I love or hate that, because I think the movie would have been better if it had ended with her like having her like birthday party with all the dead bodies and like singing happy birthday, to like that really creepy ending. If it had stopped there, that would have been a good part. But the whodunit, like extra 2 minutes you talked about, whereas like this montage of her getting chloroformed over and over again and just like unmasking and all this like crazy bullshit, like that's so stupid and bad, it almost makes the movie better just because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I watched April Fool's Day. That was another one that I got from the Scream Factory sale. I don't know if you've seen that one yet.
No, I still need to, but I mean, it's sort of been spoiled for me in a way.
I mean, it's the movie's called April Fool's Day. It's like, how do you think it's going to end? So right. I don't really feel like I'm spoiling it. The problem with April Fool's Day is that its premise defeats the entire purpose of a slasher movie. It's like, okay, so it's all going to be an April Fool's joke at the end of the movie. That's the twist. So that means that you can't show anybody getting killed in the movie because they all have to live at the end for the joke. And that's a really shitty slasher movie. And they try to pull some fast ones on you, like, oh no, we've got you'll see a dead body in the movie, but then they'll reveal at the end that, oh no, it was all like prosthetics and like retractable knives and rubber body parts.
Tell me, there's got to be at least one actual death. Is there like one actual death in this movie?
One actual death in the whole movie. The entire thing is a prank at the end. It's the other problem with that movie is if it had been funnier, I would have like been okay with it. If it had been like a horror comedy, then maybe that would have worked. And it tries to be a horror comedy. It has some jokes like Thomas Wilson, who played Biff in Back to the Future. He's in that movie, but he's not being used to his full potential. So I'm like, I know this actor is really funny, but he's not doing anything funny. Like, this is really disappointing. And Amy Steele from Friday the 13th Part 2, she plays like the final girl in that movie. I guess they're all final girls since nobody died, but she plays the main character in that movie. And it's I don't know. I kind of got it just to fill out, my 80s slasher movie library, but it's not one of my favorites.
Vic King says it's like they both are deliberately dancing around the horror master Rob Zombie.
The horror master Rob Zombie. I have like a love-hate relationship with that guy because I like his music. I mean, I saw Rob Zombie at Nissan Pavilion back in 2006. I got a whole bunch of his albums. I don't like his movies very much. I like House of a Thousand Corpses. I like The Devil's Rejects. I hated Halloween 1 and 2. I never saw Lords of Salem. I haven't seen that 3 from Hell one, that sequel.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to check that one out just because I like the first two. So how bad could the third one be? But I mean, I don't know. I'm like fire and ice with his movies.
Oh man, well I love the trilogy, and then I like Halloween 1, but I didn't like 2. 2, I just zoned out eventually. Like I was just so bored with it. I had no clue what was going on really.
That's the thing is I almost liked Halloween 2 more than Halloween 1. We're talking just the Rob Zombie remakes because Halloween 1, it's the first half of that movie is Michael's childhood that explains why he became a deranged killer, which completely misses the point of Michael Myers is that there is no reason for why he just up and killed his sister one day. That's just something he did. And that's the thing that drove Loomis insane was that, and why he thinks Michael is pure evil is because he can't understand why Michael did that.
Right.
But
and
no,
take a shot every time he says that too. Every time he's like,
right?
It is pure evil.
Or take a shot every time he goes like, I shot him 6 times. But no, like the first hour of Rob Zombie's Halloween is, Michael's childhood. In the second hour is just a compressed remake, like scene for scene, line for line of John Carpenter's Halloween. It's like, what's the fucking point? You're just doing, it's like the Gus Van Sant Psycho remake where he's like, yeah, we're just going to do line for line, scene for scene, shot for shot remake. And like, all right, it just went from being boring to really boring now. I mean, Halloween 2 is just nothing but nonsense. It's barely even recognizable as Michael Myers barely even wears his mask in that movie. I mean, it's full of like dream sequences and hallucinations. But at least he was trying something original with that movie. I mean, I can give him credit. It's almost more watchable because he's doing something. I don't know. He's not doing it well, but at least he's trying. He's not just doing something as boring as a shot-for-shot remake like Halloween 1 was. But neither of them are good. I can't recommend either of them.
Oh man! Well, at least we agree on House of a Thousand Corpses.
I like that one. People hate that one. I don't get it. I like House of a Thousand Corpses.
Like I was here Cinemassacre say like, oh, I hated House of a Thousand Corpses, but I love The Devil's Rejects. I'm like, how do you like that more than House of a Thousand Corpses?
Yeah, I mean, so they're both very different. Their approaches, even though like one's a sequel to the other, they're both in tone and atmosphere and approach. They're very different kind of movies, but House of a Thousand Corpses is more fun to watch. I like that music video, rapid editing effect that it does, where it'll cut away to like the horror host on TV, or it'll cut away to just these random segues of like Bill Moseley just doing like a weird speech. I don't know. It's very random and surreal, and I like that.
I was so sad they got rid of those MTV inserts by the time they made the second one.
So watching House of a Thousand Corpses does feel like watching late night cable television in the 90s, where like you're changing the channel and like every time you flip to something else, like you're catching something in medias res, and it's all just a bunch of weird shit. Like, I love that about House of a Thousand Corpses, and I like Devil's Rejects. Devil's Rejects, though, is a more conventional horror movie. It's
Right.
it doesn't have any of that weird editing. It doesn't have any of that weird atmospheric tone. It's just Rob Zombie, like, hey, I'm gonna do a fucking Last House on the Left, Grindhouse, Texas Chainsaw Massacre style movie, and I'm gonna be very, you know, I'm not gonna say plain because it's not a boring movie, but it is very conventional.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and like especially like the tone in it. Like I really love the tone in the first one, and it's just like the characters almost feel like they're completely different by the time you get to the second one. Like Bill Moseley's like, I mean, he's sort of close to how he was in the first one, but it just,
well,
I don't know,
the
he's
first
just not the same. And
the
same
first
with
one
like shit
feels
like,
yeah.
oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, and like Sherry Moon, like she went from like in the first one, she's all like bubbly to like in the second one, she's like more direct and serious. Like she never does the like sort of like cutesy voice in the second one.
Yeah, it's so the first movie feels like a nightmare. That's kind of why it's so disjointed. I mean, the titular like House of a Thousand Corpses is like a weird fun house. It's full of like secret passages and trap doors. There's a part where they throw like the main girl like into a cage, and then just like all these like zombie looking things just pop out and grab her, and then it's never followed up on. It's just something that happens. Like there's a bunch of like weird like disfigured people walking around. There's Dr. Satan who's in that cave like in the basement. It's just such a weird movie. It's full of monsters, and it's not trying to be realistic, whereas Devil's Rejects is trying to be like a Manson family sort of movie where it's like, no, this is all very it's not mundane, but it's all stuff that feels like it almost could happen. Like there's a part where they need to steal a car. So Sherry Moon lays down in the middle of the street, and then a car comes by and stops, and the person gets out to see if she's okay. And then Bill Moseley comes up and kills him, and they steal the car. Like that's something that's, you know, almost too real. It would be very easy for anybody to do that to me or to you, to steal my car or your cars. If it's very normal, and that's a different kind of scary. It's not surrealist. It's not nightmarish. It's just
Right.
so realistic that like, oh shit, that could happen to anybody at any time.
And like the second one gets like so dark, especially with like the little motel scene that lasts quite a while actually. But
where they put the face on that one, I think it was the cop, right? They put like the skinned face on him, and then they send him running out, and then they get shot.
It was like I love that part, but like but like some of the stuff in there is so intense, and then it's like just so funny though when they end up putting like a joke in the middle of that. Like they're like torturing these poor people, and then you know Sherry Moon's like dancing in front of this one dude, and Bill Moseley's like, "Does my sister turn you on?" And the dude's like, "No," and he's like, "What are you, gay or something?" It's so funny.
Yeah, they're still like a family. I think they have that part where they're driving, and Bill Moseley's like, "We're not stopping for fucking ice cream." And then like it jump cuts and they're all eating ice cream. You're like, God damn it. It has like that like 1970s like really like sitcom almost kind of joke there. Or that's something you'd see in like All in the Family or Happy Days or something.
Oh boy, yeah, I love that scene. Oh yeah, those are such fun movies. Well, I mean, I don't want to say fun and everyone thinks I'm a weirdo because you know they're dark, but I just mean like they're enjoyable. Like you know, I feel like horror movies. like that's happened to be like that's fun is how I describe any movie, even if it's dark, if I you know enjoyed watching it. And so like I'll tell my friend Andrew, I'm like, oh yeah, this is such a good movie or such a fun movie, and he's like, do you just call it fun? like and it like slips sometimes. Like one of the paperbacks from Hell reissues, Let's Go Play at the Adamses, it's a really dark book, and somebody posted on Twitter like how good it was, and they tagged the publisher, and I replied, oh yeah, it was a really fun book, and they were like, what? I don't know if I'd call it fun. Like the publisher said that to me, and I was like, no, I just meant like it was like I enjoyed reading it.
I mean, no, a lot of horror movies, I mean, regardless of the subject matter, I mean, they can be like just fun to watch. Like House of a Thousand Corpses is fun to watch. Devil's Rejects not so much because the shift in tone. But it's not like watching Schindler's List. If you said Schindler's List was fun, then I might look at you cockeyed. Like, really?
Oh, well, you obviously didn't see my recent video where it was top 10 classic movies I've never seen, and Schindler's List is on it. But I still laugh every time I watch the Seinfeld episode when they're like, "You made out during Schindler's List."
I remember Clerks, the animated series, had this cutaway gag where they're watching Flintstones List, and so all these like Flintstones characters get loaded onto a train by the Nazis, and then they all lift up the train and they run along the tracks with their feet. it's ridiculous, yeah.
Oh boy.
Another one that I watched that I got from that Scream Factory sale. It's John Carpenter's Vampires, which I mean I'd seen before. It's one of John Carpenter's like '90s era horror movies. And the '90s are that time period where people are kind of like really cold on John Carpenter movies. But Vampires is really good. I mean that's got James Woods in it, and he's just going balls to the wall in that movie.
Oh, well, now I need to see it.
Yeah, he's got this part where James Woods is he's a vampire hunter, but he's ordained by the Catholic Church, and he's after this one vampire who's like, yeah, so he's after this one vampire who's like the original vampire, who's like a really big deal, and he finds out about this conspiracy in the church and everything. So he's part of being a vampire hunter for the Catholic Church is that you have to be assigned a priest who has to go with you on all of your vampire hunts so that they can consecrate the ground afterwards and make sure that the vampires can't come back. And he thinks that the priest is like hiding something from him. So he just starts like beating the shit out of the priest. And the priest is like this young guy and he has no idea what James Woods is going on about. And so James Woods is just wailing on him and knocking him out. And once James Woods like is satisfied that he doesn't know anything, they're sitting in the car together, and James Woods is like being nice to him. He's like, "Hey, I'm sorry about that back there, Father. But hey, I got a question. When I was kicking your ass back there, did you get a little wood? Did you get a stiffy back there?" I was like, "What?" It's just this completely random scene where he asked the priest if he got a boner while he was getting his ass kicked. So I watched the documentary that's on the Blu-ray, and James Woods says he ad-libbed that, and they just kept it in the movie.
Oh man, what was the other one I watched? I'm trying to think. Island of Lost Souls. I recently watched. Oh,
that's a classic one. Yeah, that's that has Bela Lugosi's got a small part in it, but it's still really good.
Yeah,
it's like an Island of Dr. Moreau adaptation.
Yeah, but of course he's my favorite part, even if it was a small part. I'd love seeing him in it. I haven't read the book it was based on, but I at least really liked the movie. It's and I like seeing the actress. I forget her name from. She was in Freaks as well. She was in this one, so that was pretty cool. But the movie is really good though.
It's really good. It's a pre-code horror movie, so it's allowed to imply a lot of violence that you don't normally see in like movies made after 1935. So the way they kill Dr. Moreau at the end of the movie is they basically dissect him alive. They just don't show it to you, obviously, because it's like 1934. But you just hear him screaming, and there's that great shot where it's the exterior of the lab, and there's this huge shaft of light just like coming out of it. It's just really beautifully shot movie. And it doesn't show up on people's lists too much, but it's really good.
People are roasting you in the chat. Vic says John Carpenter's Vampires good, and then there's a gigantic android that says maybe there's another John Carpenter's Vampires Mark has seen.
I don't understand. I mean, that's one of those things where like there's some movies that I like, and I hear people say they just absolutely fucking hate them, and I'm like, what? Really? It's like Freddy versus Jason. I love that movie, and everybody
I love it
fucking
too.
hates that movie. I know. Like all these people, every time I bring up, like, yeah, I really like Freddy versus Jason, they go, what? That movie fucking sucked. Like what? Like
I don't know what more they wanted. What more did they want?
Right. It did as good as it possibly could for the premise. Yeah, I know it sucks that Kane Hodder wasn't in it. I really wish he was, but this is the timeline we're stuck in, and we got pretty much Kane Hodder not included. We got pretty much the best Freddy versus Jason movie we're ever gonna get. So, yeah, John Carpenter's Vampires. I mean, it's not one of his best movies. I enjoy it. It's not bad like Ghosts of Mars bad, or even Village of the Damned. That was another one he did in the 90s. That one's bad, John Carpenter. Or how about Memoirs of an Invisible Man, that shitty Chevy Chase movie that he did? Like, that's a bad John Carpenter movie. Vampires is I mean, probably put it like in the middle of the road of John Carpenter movies, but it's not like unwatchable trash. It's not Ghosts of Mars. It's not Village of the Damned.
You know which one I didn't like of his movies was well, so far there's two. You know, there's still a few more of his movies I need to see. Like, I haven't seen Vampires, but I really hated Prince of Darkness and The Fog.
Wow, really?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's
like, it's like, okay,
when popular opinion there, Nasser. Prince of Darkness is that one's divisive, but I thought everybody loved The Fog.
I don't know what there is to like about The Fog, because, like, okay, it's got all the things you want in a movie, but it's so boring. Like, it's got such a great cast. Man,
you got Adrian Barbeau, you got Tom Atkins, you got.
That's the thing. It's like, it's got a good cast. It's got a good cast. It's got a good cast. It's got a good score. And it's got good cinematography, but the story's just so boring. Like, I just hated it.
It is slow. I'll give you that. It is slower than a lot of his other movies, and I guess the same could be said of Prince of Darkness. But I like the pacing of Prince of Darkness. That one is he's trying to, for Prince of Darkness, Carpenter was trying to do like not a riff, but he was trying to do an homage to Nigel Neal, who's the guy who wrote the Quatermass movies and the Quatermass miniseries. And he also wrote this movie called this British made-for-TV movie called The Stone Taped, and this was kind of like an excessive adaptation of The Stone Tape. But yeah, Prince of Darkness. I mean, I like that one. The characters are really thin. I can't remember any of their names except for that has the Chinese guy who played Egg Fu or whatever his name was, Egg Shen from Big Trouble in Little China. Like, he's in there. And every other character I can't remember, because all the characters except for Alice Cooper's cameo are just totally forgettable. Like, Prince of Darkness is another, like, I would call that one like a middle of the road John Carpenter movie, but I mean, I still watch it. I still like it. Not one of my favorites. No, like, my least favorite John Carpenter movie, even below Ghosts of Mars and Village of the Damned, is Starman. I mean, people, it kind of doesn't count because it's not a horror movie. It's just a romantic comedy that he decided to make in the 80s, and I hate that movie. like
that's the thing that is so annoying, because, like, I told you at C2E2 this year, I won a John Carpenter signed Starman poster.
And boy, you get a Starman poster. Right.
And I've never seen Starman, and the stuff you tell me about it, it's like, well, I don't want to watch it now, but I have the poster. I can't right here.
God, it's like that's one of those like booby prizes. Like, hey, Mark, you like John Carpenter movies? Boy, do I! You want a John Carpenter poster? Boy, do I! Okay, like, his fucking Starman. Like, oh, you're messing with me.
Right here, let me. So this is right. I'm trying to figure out how to put it with the camera. It's right there. There's his signature on this poster, and it's like, well. At least it's something.
Yeah, I mean, that's one more John Carpenter poster than I have, and one more John Carpenter autograph than I have. I mean, Starman, I'm sure it's not bad for what it is, a romantic comedy road trip movie. It's just not at all my kind of movie. I don't enjoy it at all.
Well, let me see. There's a couple chats I wanted to read. Now I just lost. Oh, here, Zeno agrees with you, saying John Carpenter's Vampires is amazing.
I mean, I like it. It's it fits in like the vampire. I like movies where vampire hunters have to go over their methods. I don't know, where there's almost like a procedural aspect to it. Like The Lost Boys has that aspect. Fright Night is one of those ones where they have to really sit down and think about how they're going to kill the vampires. Blade, Blade's more of an action movie, but it's still a lot of fun. John Carpenter's Vampires has that really cool mechanic where so James Woods has a crossbow, right? And he goes into the nests, so like these abandoned buildings where the vampires are sleeping, and he shoots them with the crossbow. But the arrows are hooked up to a line and a winch attached to the car. And as soon as he shoots one of them with the arrows, the person at the car like turns on the winch and pulls the vampire out of the house and into the sun, and the vampires all just burst into flames. Like, it's a really cool idea, and it's executed visually really well. The plot, okay, yeah. So the plot of John Carpenter's Vampires, not that good. It's basically it is a very typical vampire movie. It's just kind of elevated by James Woods and just the overall direction by John Carpenter.
Full Custom Hot Dogs with me says, I thought The Fog was just okay. Like, I know, like, The Fog was like, okay, so some people are talking, some people are walking, they're talking.
Yeah, I might be biased in The Fog because it's my dad's favorite John Carpenter movie. Like, he really likes The Fog. I think it's the only John Carpenter movie he owns on DVD. Like, when I was still living with my parents when I was a kid, I had The Fog on DVD, and my dad would borrow it all the time to watch it because he just really likes that movie. I think he was just into Adrienne Barbeau.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I always like that movie. It is slow. In fact, I think like the last few times I've watched it, I've kind of like, dipped out and probably like looked at my phone for parts of it. So it is kind of slow. But hey, man, if you think The Fog sucks, maybe you should watch the Fog remake from like 2001. That's a piece of shit.
Somebody in the chat mentioned that they said the remake was awful. I don't know. It's just The Fog was just like some people are talking, they're walking, they're talking again. There's something about a boat. People are worried about something. They're talking again, and then it's over.
It's got the John Carpenter. I don't know, the John Carpenter atmosphere where he scores his own movies. The way he lines up his shots, very John Carpenter. I mean, just the atmosphere of the film, of all the fog, like just gushing through the streets and everything. But it's also like a lot of that. It's like, how many shots of fog rolling down the streets and into people's houses do you need to see? It's kind of does lose its effectiveness at a point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's coming to 4K, so I don't know. I don't know if I want to give it another shot on Blu-ray or get the 4K. Because I was talking to Andrew, and he's like, "Oh, I think I'm going to buy the 4K and give it another shot," because he sort of feels the same way I do about it. And I was like, "Well, I mean, it's going to look better on 4K, but I don't know if I need the 4K to give it another shot."
I mean, my DVD, I'm actually looking at it right now. I'm trying to find the year for its pressing, but 2005. So I've got the old MGM special edition of The Fog from 2005. So, I mean, I'm not in a hurry to upgrade my copy of The Fog anytime soon. It's a good atmosphere movie. And I don't know if you got it during that Criterion sale, but it was an old black and white pre-code horror movie called Vampire.
Oh, yeah, I did get it.
You did? Okay, that is an atmosphere movie. It's where every single shot in that movie looks like an oil painting. It's a really gorgeous movie, but it doesn't have hardly any action. It's just a spooky movie. So when you're going in to watch it, just kind of like go in with that understanding, is that it's not Dracula. In fact, if you read the Wikipedia article on Vampire, it was loathed so much when it was released back in like 1931 because everybody thought it was boring. Because it's a movie that's just supposed to make you feel spooked out. It's supposed to be like a waking nightmare, but it's not full of intense action or a lot of melodrama. It's just almost like Un Chien Andalou, that French movie that's just a whole bunch of really weird images like tailored together to make this sort of a surrealist nightmare experience. There is a narrative to Vampire. It's almost cryptic though. But it's good. I always like that one.
When I got it, and I had to order that one from Barnes & Noble's website, because when I was there in the store and I was picking some out, that was one I specifically went in for just because it looked cool. I knew nothing about it, and they were like, "Oh no, but we could get it from our warehouse." I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'll just do that." So they sent it to me, and it came like the next day somehow. It came really quick. But anyways, when I got the package, it's in that really like thin flimsy cardboard, so like I grabbed it and it was like really thick. I was like, oh, maybe this is how I am. I was like, oh, maybe they accidentally put two in here and I can flip one. But no, it came with the booklet and the slip cover, which is cool.
Yeah, I got the same one. So the reason it's so thick is that it has a reprint of Carmilla, this old vampire novella from the 1800s that the movie is inspired by. Not really based on, but inspired by. But the movie's got it's got a lot of really great imagery in it. That's certain effects that were uncommon for the time, and they're just very weird. It's like that movie, The Innocence, from the
I
1950s.
love that one so much.
Yeah, that's like a creeping dread kind of movie. It's not full of really big bombastic scares like The Haunting. It's just got spooky imagery. And like Vampire has this scene where the main character is following this disembodied shadow that's roaming around the house, and then it goes out into the village at night, and he's following this shadow that's not attached to any human being. And that it's a really prolonged sequence, but it's got these really great images. Like there's a part where he sees the reflection of somebody walking along, like in the reflection of a river, but there's nobody walking by the river. So it's just this completely disembodied reflection. It looks really cool. And then eventually the shadow rejoins the vampire person that it's attached to. It's just this very haunting kind of movie. You kind of have to be in a boring mood to watch it, though.
I guess I'll put it towards the bottom of the list. Zeno says it's like Nasser was literally born yesterday. Yeah, I don't know if you saw this stream I did the other day, but we went through a list of like top 100 movies. I don't think it was the actual list. I think some person just threw it together, and we were taking bets with the chat on like how many they think I saw out of 100, and I was guessing like 30 or 40, but I only saw 22 out of this list.
Well, I mean, I'll give you credit. I still haven't seen the Maltese Falcon. I saw that you posted that you just watched that one. I never got around to watching it.
It's so good, and it's got Peter Lorre in it, so it's good. I really love Peter Lorre.
I've never seen Casablanca either. That's got Peter Lorre. Well, yeah, I don't know. Or Gone with the Wind. I've never seen
Gone with the Wind, but Casablanca's awesome.
I'll watch old movies, but they got to be old horror movies. I don't really want to watch old. Like I saw Wizard of Oz once. I watched it in school, and I've never seen it again. And I kind of don't really care about seeing Wizard of Oz.
The funny thing is like I have that same response for like a lot of those movies. Like people were like, "You haven't seen A Streetcar Named Desire," and I was like, "No, right. That sounds a little gay." Like no, like everybody's like, "No, you got to watch all these classic movies now." And like that same night, or maybe it was the next night, I was on Amazon. I was like, "Why don't I order some movies?" And I ordered Edge of the Axe. I was like, I'm just gonna watch slasher movies.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I did a stream with Full Custom Hot Dog back in October, and it was the Italian horror fake sequel stream, and I bought like Cruel Jaws and Night Killer and the Italian Night Killer is the Italian Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. I got fucking Shocking Dark, which was their terrible Terminator Aliens knockoff. Like I'm watching all these garbage Italian movies, but I still haven't seen Casablanca or the Maltese Falcon.
Oh man, I mean, it takes a lot for me to watch anything that's not horror, but I really did love Maltese Falcon and Casablanca. Those are both really great.
Well, I want to see Maltese Falcon just because I do kind of like I don't know, like maybe I've completely misunderstood what Maltese Falcon is about, but it is a kind of a crime noir movie. It is. Yeah. So, I mean, I have wanted to watch some of those. I mean, I do like 1970s and 1980s, like mafia movies. Like I've seen Godfather 1 through 3, and I've seen Goodfellas, and I've seen Casino.
I still need to see Godfather, and I should have pulled the trigger on Casino because the 4K was $15 on Amazon the other day. And then when I was scrolling back through my save for later, I was like, now it says not available from this seller. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So
I mean, Casino's all right. It's not as good as Goodfellas.
I love Goodfellas.
Goodfellas is one of those movies where, like, whenever it comes on TV, I can just stop what I'm doing and watch it. I don't know. It's a good chill movie. I don't know.
Yeah, I went through my Goodfellas phase a few years ago, like me and my brother, we don't share a room anymore because one of our sisters moved out. But when we did share a room, like whenever I'd be like, all right, time to clean our room, we'd put on a movie that we had already seen a million times just to have something to listen to. And like for like a couple months straight, like every time I was like, maybe we should clean our room because two brothers sharing a room, like we just have garbage everywhere. But every time we're like, all right, time to clean our room, I would just put on Goodfellas. Oh, it's such like a movie that like I don't know, like I just like I don't know, I just love it. I just love everything in it, especially the narration. Like half the time when a movie has narration, I really despise it. Like I'm like,
well, it's Ray Liotta doing the narration.
Yeah,
though, so
yeah, but like
it's got a charm to it that's fun to listen to.
Yeah, like when him and the chick, I forget her name, like when they do the narration though, it's actually really good. Just because they're talking about it, like they're looking back on it, like you could sort of tell, they're looking back on this, like telling you everything that happened. I hate it when it's like in the moment narration, like like
yeah. I mean, so I make fun of it all the time. It's one of the worst cliches. It's where like, and even some movies I enjoy do it. Like, it's the when a movie opens in medias res. And then you hear the narration of the main character go, "Whoa, freeze frame, everybody!" Like you're probably wondering how I got here. Well, that's a long scene. Maybe I should start from the beginning. It all goes back to, and then the movie, like you hear like the VCR rewind sound effect, and it goes back to the actual beginning of the movie. Like that's the worst cliche. And as much as I enjoyed the Sonic the Hedgehog movie from, I guess it was earlier this year, it starts the same way. And I was like, "Oh, this isn't a good sign," but I ended up enjoying the movie anyway. But like How to Train Your Dragon opens that way, and like a whole bunch of movies open that way, and it's such
like Silver Bullet, but it's funny with that one because like it starts with the chick narrating, and it stops it for like the next hour, and then she randomly starts narrating again.
Oh yeah, that's right. She was narrating this movie, wasn't she? I forgot all about that.
Oh boy, we got Ethan in the chat, Comic Artist Pro Secret, saying the frog instead of the fog. I'm really behind in the chat. The chat was dead for a while, and now it's just moving. But we're still back here with the fog chats. But Billy says, "Who isn't into Adrienne Barbeau? Holy crap, she was so hot."
Yeah, she was great, and so it's funny because she's great in Creepshow, but she's also awful. She's really good at being awful in that movie, where you can't wait for that monster in the crate to bite her head off because she's so obnoxious.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot for a second that she was in that. But yes, I was so happy when the monster got her. That's one of the best moments of that movie.
That's one of those things where that kind of lends credence to what a good actress she is. That she in that segment's only like 15 minutes long. So in 15 minutes, she makes you hate her so much that you just relish seeing her get eaten alive by the giant ape thing.
Right. Zeno says you can't be on your phone while watching The Fog. I'm never on my phone when watching a movie. I leave it across the room. Let's see. Full Custom Hot Dog says Scream Factory has been bringing stuff to 4K. I'm going to wait until they do some crazy collector's editions. There's some wild 4K discs, I think, from Germany that look great to pick up, and 4K is region free. Yeah, that's right. It is region free. There's some.
I don't have a 4K TV or a 4K player, so I mean, it looks fine to me, and 1080p Blu-ray HD looks fine to me. But whatever benefits 4K has, I don't have the equipment to appreciate.
Oh man, Jaws in 4K was so incredible. Like I was watching that, dude, and I felt like I could like just reach out and touch the water, like I was back in 1974 or 5 whenever they filmed it. It looks so spectacular in 4K.
Well, you see, it's funny. So I picked up that Scream Factory Friday the 13th box set that's got like all 12 movies in it.
Yeah.
And I think the first 4 of them on that set are remastered in 4K. But this is the first time I'd ever watched them on Blu-ray because I had the DVD set, the From Crystal Lake to Manhattan DVD set that came out in like 2005. So just watching them in Blu-ray felt like, a mind-blowing upgrade to me anyway, because I'm like 15 years behind everybody else.
Yeah, I have the Blu-ray that has the first 8 of them on there, but now I've got them all upgraded to Scream Factory because I got the set. But and I finally got a notification that my replacement discs shipped out.
I got mine yesterday. So yeah, they are arriving. I got my replacement discs. So I'm gonna rewatch. I actually had to postpone watching that set because when I was watching Jason Goes to Hell, the unrated cut, I noticed that the guy getting his arm snapped wasn't in there. I was like, hold the fucking phone! What happened to the guy's arm? And I found out that they had to do a recall. And Full Custom Hot Dog, by the way, thanks for letting me know, because he was the one who told me where I had to go to get the replacement discs. But yeah, now I can now I get to watch Jason X. Ooh.
right. Yeah, I think me and my brother are gonna binge watch him, but probably I think he starts his I think his semester ends in like a week from now or so. So like it's gonna be pretty soon, I think, where we finally go through and binge watch him. But he's probably gonna despise it because for some reason my brother hates rewatching movies, but I love it. Like if I love a movie, I just love watching it like 10 times.
Man, if it's a movie I love, yeah, I can just geez, I don't know how many times I've watched In the Mouth of Madness. I probably watched that movie like 20 times. I can watch that anytime.
I mean, I've watched it only like 2 or 3 times, but that's only because I'm really new to the movie. Like I only got it like a year ago.
I actually just upgraded.
But I really do love that movie.
Yeah, that was one of the ones that I had just upgraded because I had the old Snapper case DVD from like 2001. The Scream Factory sale, they had In the Mouth of Madness, so I finally upgraded on that one because I figure I like the movie so much, I might as well have a good version of it.
That movie is so meta. I didn't even notice like the biggest homage to Lovecraft in that movie because first of all, every single part of that movie is just Lovecraft homages. And it wasn't until like the second time I watched it where I was like, wait, this movie's about a dude that's normal and descends into madness. I was like, oh my goodness. So the overall story is the biggest homage, and I just never noticed.
Well, I remember the very first time I watched that movie, I was kind of like sneering at it because Sam Neill's character, he says and does things that at the time I thought were really artificial. Like he has these like cheesy one-liners where he'll say things like, go ahead, it's your dime, kid. And like, that's a terrible line. Like, that sounds so fake. And then, you find out at the end of the movie that he wasn't real. He was someone written by Sutter Kane. So that's why he has these really cheesy one-liners, this really fake-sounding dialogue throughout the movie, is because he's an artificial character created for the movie, that metatextual thing. Like, that's when you go back and you rewatch it and you notice those things, you're like, oh man, this movie gets better every time I see it.
Yeah, I really love it. And like, I especially love when they're in that little like motel place and there's the creepy old lady, and then there's the one part where like in the background in the doorway where you see Sam Neill's partner, I forget her name, when she creeps out like behind him when his back's turned and she leaves the little motel, that just really creeped me out.
When she runs past the door, she's in slow motion and they play like this weird like jingling bell music when she does it. It's so like ghostly and strange. Right. Yeah, no, everything. Have you ever seen Fright Night Part 2? No,
not Part 2.
Oh, so she plays the main villain in that movie, that actress, and she's really good in that movie as well. So there's a region-free Blu-ray, and it's that's the one that I bought because it still hasn't gotten released in like R1, but the Blu-ray is region-free. I really recommend picking that one up. It's Spanish, but again, it's region-free and it has the English track on it. What did they call it? They call it Noche de Miedo Part 2. So pick that one up. But yeah, no, Fright Night Part 2 is really good. It's not as good as Fright Night 1, but it's still a solid movie.
Man, I need the first one in Blu-ray. I have it on DVD, so I'm a little like you. I'm a little behind, but it's because like when I went to buy that, that was one of my earliest physical media purchases instead of just streaming them. And so when I went to buy it and I saw the Blu-ray was like maybe like I don't know, it was expensive. It was like $25 or $30. I don't know. I was like, I don't know. I'm sure the DVD will be fine. It's only $8, and I bought the DVD, and then I was like, I kind of want this on Blu-ray now. I should have paid the $30 because it would have been worth it.
I still have I still have the Blu-ray. It's is it an Anchor Bay one? No, it's just a Columbia Pictures one. So I haven't upgraded Fright Night Part 1 to the Blu-ray yet. I kind of need to though, just because I have the sequel in Blu-ray, but I have the first movie in standard definition, and I kind of want them to match in quality. But I have a good tolerance for standard definition, just because that's the era I grew up in. It was like VHS tapes and beta tapes, so standard definition movies don't bother me so much.
Chase Johnson wants to know best horror of the last decade. The Greatest Showman, he says. I haven't seen that.
The Greatest Showman. It was at that P.T. Barnum musical with Hugh Jackman. that was something else. I saw that movie on a date, and we didn't go on another date.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, that The Greatest Showman. I don't know if that's a horror movie, like legit. I haven't seen that.
No,
one.
he must be just making a joke.
Yeah.
But as
there's been some good ones. I kind of like the revival of slow burn, atmospheric.
A24 films, just everything from A24.
Yeah, right. Like Hereditary and It Follows and The Witch.
I have It Follows, but I didn't watch it yet. I haven't.
That's good. The only thing is it kind of shits the bed at the ending, at the climax.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, like Quentin Tarantino actually did a takedown of it, and like, geez, man, like you didn't have to rip this guy's indie film apart, but I mean, it's really good. It's just that they wrote themselves into a corner with the monster, and they kind of just needed a way to end the movie. So the climax is a little like, yeah, this is just sort of, it doesn't really mean anything, but it's still the premise of the movie is really good, and it's executed really well almost the entire way through. The Babadook is another good one. That's
that one's really good. I watched it on Netflix years and years ago. I need to finally get the Blu-ray of it. But if Chase Johnson here is looking for a serious answer, I'd probably have to say The Witch would probably be the best one of the past decade. Hereditary's up there. Midsummer, like it's really like everything from A24. Is what I put up there. But I mean, like, I just think we got so many great ones in 2019 alone. Like 2019 was such a great year for horror movies and movies in general. Like there was also Ready or Not, and there was also Brightburn was really good, and there were a bunch of other ones in 2019.
Brightburn, that one's been on my list for a while.
Oh, it's fantastic. Also the Child's Play reboot, that one was really good. I know it's a little divisive. But I really liked it.
I just saw this one for the first time recently, and I consider it a new movie, but when I look at when it was made in like 2007. It's actually kind of old, but it's Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon.
Everyone's been recommending this to me. Sorry not to cut you off, but I still haven't bought it.
So it's a subgenre that's sort of been beaten into the ground, but when it did it, it was clever. It's a deconstructionist slasher movie where it's like a hybrid of found footage, docudrama, and then like an actual movie where it's dramatized. And it's just this camera crew doing a documentary on slashers, and they're following this guy named Leslie Vernon around, and he's like explaining to them, what it takes to be a slasher. And he's like a rookie slasher. So he's talking about like, I follow in the footsteps of the legends, like Freddy and Jason and Michael, like those guys, they were the real shit. I want to be like them. But he lived in a world where all the slashers were real people. So he's not talking about them like they're movie characters. Like he lives in a world where like Jason was a real person who went around killing people, and Freddy and Michael. And so he's trying to be the next big slasher. And it's not really tongue-in-cheek funny. It's very sincere with the way it's doing its premise, and it'll intercut throughout the movie where the camera crew is following around doing his interviews, and he's setting up his attack on his next victim. And then when it's time for him to, he'll explain what he's going to do and how he's going to do it. Like there's this part where he's setting everything up in advance at a library to kill the librarian and scare the final girl who he's gonna like kill later on. And he's showing like, okay, so I got to set this like piece of paper here so that she finds it, and then I have to make sure that when she sees the piece of paper, she goes to the microfiche to look at the microfiche, but of course she doesn't know how the microfiche thing works. So that's when she goes and she asks the librarian, and so I have to make sure that the librarian's there, so the librarian can go and talk to her. And then I'm going to sneak up and I'm going to stab the librarian in the back, and she's going to freak out and run away. And then it's like after he explains how he's going to do it, then it cuts to like being like a real movie, you know, and then it shows like that whole scene playing out like in a horror movie fashion, and like, you know, needless to say, everything he explains how it's done happens. It's really good. And they never made like a sequel. They never made a prequel or any spin-offs or bullshit. It's just kind of like a done in one movie that just happened to be really good.
A done in one movie instead of one and done.
One and done in one. They made the same thing.
And like I said, I've never seen Godfather, but people are talking about Godfather 3, which I always hear is awful. But people are like Full Custom Hot Dog saying that he says, I've never seen the original cut, but I've read that the new cut saves Sofia Coppola's performance. I'm curious because I saw Godfather 3 and Sofia Coppola's acting was so bad it distracts from the rest of the movie, and she's literally the only thing I can remember about that movie. I only saw it once, but I just if this new, because there's a new edit that just came out that Francis Ford Coppola did that's called like, it's not even called Godfather 3 anymore. It's called The Godfather Coda, the death of Michael Corleone. And he did a re-edit of the movie, and like what Full Custom is saying is like if he somehow found a way to, I don't know, save the audience from his daughter's shitty acting, then maybe that movie's not so bad. I kind of want to give it another chance if the edit actually improves it. I don't know, maybe.
Oh yeah, Full Custom. You really need to order your replacement discs. I don't know how much longer they're going to do that. So get on that shit, man.
Maybe I'll watch Godfather 3 after I see the other two.
Yeah, you don't need it. That's the thing, is that it's superfluous. I mean, Godfather 1 and 2 tell a complete story. Godfather 3, it's like an epilogue. That's why he calls it. That's why Coppola calls it the Godfather Coda. Is that it's just kind of like, I think the studio forced him to make a third movie when he didn't want to, and so he just did it so his daughter could have an acting credit. And you don't need it.
Let's see. Billy says, can anyone remember a horror movie that was shot like a documentary of a film crew following a guy that was a serial killer? I think it was shot in black and white.
In black and white? Well, okay, no, I don't know that one. It sounds like the movie I was just talking about, Behind the Mask, but that one wasn't in black and white, so I don't know.
Oh, wait. Full Custom Hot Dog says, Man Bites Dog.
I've never even heard of that one.
I don't know. I've never heard of it either. Well, Full Custom Hot Dog says he hasn't seen it in ages, but I guess that's the one. Godfather 3 changes the character of Michael Corleone too much.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even remember. So I should give it another shot. I have this thing where, like, a lot of the times, when I watch a movie again, like 10 years later, I have a completely different opinion about it than I did. Like a lot of the times I'll intentionally rewatch a movie I didn't like just to see if maybe I'll get it this time. And then sometimes the movie turns out to be pretty good. Like I remember there was a while where I didn't like Night of the Demons. And this is a long time ago, like 2001, 2002. And then I just decided to rewatch it. And now Night of the Demons is a movie I watch every Halloween, and I've watched it every Halloween for like the past 15 years. Is one of my traditions. I love that movie, but there was a time when I didn't like Night of the Demons, and I can't even remember why I didn't like it. Meanwhile, freaking Alien 3 is still bad. Like I've tried watching that movie, and I've tried watching both cuts of the movie, the director's cut and the theatrical cut, and that movie just stinks. It's just bad.
I've seen the first two, and I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I just can't get with either one because I'm not typically a big sci-fi person.
It's a sci-fi horror, though. I mean,
I don't know. I just didn't. I don't know. I just didn't really like them. It was just like, I don't know. It just sort of wasn't for me. I guess I'm not saying they're even bad. It's just like they just weren't for me.
That's how I feel about Starman, so it's okay.
Right. So I'm probably never going to see the third one. I don't know. I'm thinking about giving them another chance, but I don't think much is going to change. But Anyways, guys, we've been going for like almost 2 hours here.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah, so I'm gonna put the link for Asylum right here. If you guys want to back my and Vic's comic, it's about a lady who's hunted by Dracula in an insane asylum. That's the link right there. It's also down in the description. Mark, do you have anything to plug, by the way? I forgot to ask you.
Common America 2 just ended, so that one's being fulfilled right now. In case you backed it, just an FYI, if you did back Common America 2 on Indiegogo, the link to the digital copy is being sent out today in your email. Check your email. If it's not there, check your spam folder. That is a link that's got 7 days before it expires. So just make sure to go and check your email. Don't wait on it to download the comic.
Awesome. So anyways, thank you all for tuning in, and thank you, Mark, for being on here with me. Maybe we'll have another horror stream soon. I know we used to do these so often, and then the last like 3 or 4 of them we've said this exact same thing. Oh, we haven't done these in forever. We should do them more frequently. And then another month, it's like, is that you, Mark?
Nasser, Mark, it's been so long. I think we do like a stream like once every 2 months. Yeah, last time we did one was in October. Yeah. So yeah, we do one every 2 months. That's not too bad. But the best topic tonight was what an asshole Dennis Miller was.
For real. Yeah, but if we keep with this schedule, we'll see you guys in February.
Yeah, right. See you in February.
No, maybe after my brother starts his winter break and we watch a few more movies, then we'll have another stream soon. But anyways, thank you all again for tuning in. Thank you, Mark, for being on here. Link one last time for Asylum is right here in the chat. It's also in the description. Peace.
Sure.